This is Endlessly Ever After, a Pick Your Path to Countless Fairy Tales endings book. It's written by Laurel Snyder and Caldecott award-winning illustrator Dan Santat. This book is very different. You do not read every single page. There's over 88 pages. So you can choose which story, what kind of story you want it to be. And we're going to read about 3 different versions of this story. And there are many, many more. So you might want to check it out from your library to read other versions. Mama shakes you out of bed. She says, "My darling dear, you need to run to Grandma's. Quick, she's feeling ill, I fear. Now take this cake to cheer her up and have a lovely day. But mind the path, for danger tends to lurk along the way." So up you jump, you give a nod, and through the room you tear. But wait, you'll need to grab your coat. It's rather cool out there. What next, Rosie? Which coat will you wear? To slip on your coziest faux fur coat, turn to page 20. To grab your favorite red cape, turn to page 6. I think we'll pick the red cape. Wolf is waiting by the path out in the morning sun. "I like your fine red cape," he says. "You're heading someplace fun?" "I'm off to see my grandma," you tell your toothy friend. "Her house is purple with a gate down at the very end." "I haven't time to chat now, but I've got ways to walk. But have a lovely afternoon. Another time we'll talk." The wolf just nods his furry head and quickly slips away. He flicks his tail and disappears into the sunny day. And standing on the path alone, you fear you've been unwise. You can't forget his claws or jaws, his shifty yellow eyes. You wish you hadn't met that wolf. You wish he didn't know exactly how you plan to walk and where you mean to go. Now what, Rosie? Are you going to let that wolf scare you away from your adventure? Yes, silly. Wolves are no joke. Go back inside and start fresh tomorrow. Turn to page 2. You take a deep breath and journey on. Turn to page 50. I think we'll journey on. You will not let that mean old wolf destroy your lovely day. That furry bully has no right to bother you this way. But you've a care for safety, and so you shed your hood. The sun is bright, and you'll be fine. It's warm now in the wood. The smell of flowers fill the air, so fragrant and so sweet. But then you notice there's a sound, a somber, steady beat. You know your grandma's waiting, but she'll be home all day. You've got some time to wander. The question is, which way? What next, Rosie? What should you do with your extra minutes? To gather some fragrant flowers for Grandma, turn to page 16. To follow the sound of the beating drum, turn to page 8. Ooh, I think I want the beating drum. The somber drum beat leads you to a coffin in a glen. Inside you find a maiden fair, around it 7 men. The drummer stops and waves hello, then reaches for your cake. "So kind of you to come," he says. "We'll serve this at the wake." You're not quite certain what to do. You don't mean to be rude, but you don't know this pretty girl, and that's your grandma's food. Now what, Rosie? Are you going to let those dwarfs take Grandma's goodies? It's only cake, and they're really sad, so let them have the treat. Turn to page 66. No way, you've already wasted too much time. To grab your cake and head to Grandma's, turn to 54. We're going to Grandma's. Your head. "I have to leave or Mama will be miffed. I'm sorry that your friend is dead. I hope your spirits lift." But once you're back upon the path, you hear an angry shout. Somewhere a boy is bellowing. You wonder what about. You wasted way too much time today. You really need to fly. But in your gut you wonder what and who and how and why. Gah! Ooh, someone's yelling in the woods. What next, Rosie? First a drum beat and now a shout? Are you really going to waste more time? To ignore the drum and run straight to Gran's, turn to page 34. Who are you kidding? You have to know what all this yelling is about. Turn to page 56. Well, if I've come this far, let's see who's yelling. You head off through the trees again. You track the shouts of rage and find them coming from a kid, a boy about your age. He kicks and shouts and punches. He bellows and he rants. He's also dripping wet and wears a frown and underpants. You blush until your face is red. You want to run away, but then you're also curious. How did he get this way? Now what, Rosie? Are you really going to hang around with this wet, pantless boy? To head home now and avoid this ridiculous mess altogether, turn to page 64. To ask what's wrong and help this poor kid, turn to page 24. I wonder what Rosie's going to do. She decided to help the kid. You step a little closer. You ask, "Are you okay? You look upset and sopping wet. I'm Rosie, by the way." "Hello," he says. "My name is Jack, and I'm not okay at all. Some awful hunter stole my pants and boots, and that's not all. While I was bathing in the creek, he also took my goose." I only hope she manages to somehow wriggle loose. "He ran in that direction. I don't know what to do. When Mom finds out I lost our bird, she'll put me in the stew." "I don't suppose you'll help me. Go see if you can find that hunter and retrieve my clothes. I'm in an awful bind." What next, Rosie? Are you really going to head off on a wild goose chase? To apologize kindly but head along home, turn to page 64. To do the kid a favor, turn to page 60. She decided to do the kid a favor. You quickly take your jerkin off and hand it straight to Jack. The poor boy's nearly naked, no need to give it back. And after you walk a ways, you climb a little hill, and from there you can see everything. A bridge, a fort, a mill. You spy your grandma's cottage, a stream, a pretty lake, and everywhere the winding path. So many turns to take. It's nice to rest a minute, to stop and think a bit, to see the world around you and slowly ponder it, until you spot a fluttering, a pale thing in the wood. Could that be Jack's beloved goose? Or is it gone for good? And somewhere else below you, a man's voice fills the air. "A-hunting we will go," he sings. "Be tasty and beware." Now what, Rosie? You aren't sure what to do? Which direction should you go? To follow the ominous hunting song, turn to page 14. To chase the vague white flutter that might be a goose, turn to page 72. Let's look for the goose. You dash after the flutter and find it is the goose, but when you grasp her in your arms, she honks and wriggles loose. So with a shout, you try again, your breathless muscles sore. Still, this is fun. You needed a chase. You've never chased a stolen goose before. She squeaks and balks, she flaps and flops, but you're strong and fleet. You scoop her up and dangle her by both her yellow feet. She scrapes and fights, but you don't mind. You're as proud as you can be. You turn and run right back to Jack. You grin triumphantly. Jack reaches for his naughty bird. "Now time for a surprise," he says, and gives a gentle squeeze. Then right before your eyes, Jack's goose lays a giant egg too big for you to hold. Not only is it oversized, it's also solid gold. You thank Jack for this bounty. You set it in your basket. You wonder how the goose did that, but you've no time to ask it. Because it's getting late and now the sun is sinking low. Your mama will be furious. You really need to go. As you head home back on the path, you think about the day, so full of strange surprises and wonderful that way. The end. Well, that was a nice story. What happens if we choose a different path? Your mama shakes you out of bed. She says, "My darling dear, you need to run to Grandma's. Quick, she's feeling ill, I fear. Now take this cake to cheer her up and have a lovely day. But mind the path, for danger tends to lurk along the way." So up you jump, you give a nod, and through the room you tear. You wait, you'll need to grab your coat. It's rather cold out there. What next, Rosie? What coat will you wear? To slip on your coziest faux fur coat, turn to page 20, and to grab your favorite red cape, turn to page 6. She grabbed her red coat again. A wolf is waiting by the path out in the morning sun. "I like your fine red cape," he says. "You heading someplace fun?" "I'm off to see my grandma," you tell your toothy friend. "Her house is purple with a gate, and down at the very end." "I haven't had time to chat tonight right now. I've got a ways to walk. But have a lovely afternoon. Another time we'll talk." The wolf just nods his furry head and quickly slips away. He flicks his tail and disappears into the sunny day. And standing on the path alone, you fear you've been unwise. You can't forget his claws or jaw, his shifty yellow eyes. You wish you hadn't met the wolf. You wish he didn't know exactly how you plan to walk and where you mean to go. So now what, Rosie? Are you planning to let that wolf scare you away from your adventure? Yes, silly, wolves are no joke. Go back inside and start fresh tomorrow. Turn to page 2. To take a deep breath and journey on, turn to page 50. Oh, let's see what she does. You will not let that mean old wolf destroy your lovely day. That furry bully has no right to bother you this way. But you've a care for safety, so you shed your hood. The sun is bright and you'll be fine. It's warm now in the wood. The smell of flowers fills the air, so fragrant and so sweet. But then you notice there's a sound, a somber, steady beat. You know your grandma's waiting, but she'll be home all day. You've got some time to wander. The question is which way? What next, Rosie? What should you do with your extra minutes? To gather some fragrant flowers for Grandma? Turn to page 16. To follow the sound of the beating drum? Turn to page 8. Well, we know what happened with the beating drum. Let's get some flowers. What sort of girl would want to chase a somber beating drum? Makes you think of marching feet. It makes the woods feel glum. You'd rather gather bluebells, collect some daisies too. But don't take long. You need to go. Your grand's expecting you. However, as you turn to leave, you notice through the trees a vine of bright red roses and big fat bumblebees. You've never seen such blossoms. Your gran loves roses so. But you've already running late, so my way, oh my, which way to go? Now what, Rosie? Is it worth it? Do you really need even more flowers? To stop and gather the roses, turn to page 10. To get back on the path and hurry along to Gran's as quickly as possible, turn to page 34. Ah, she chose page 10. These roses are so lovely, but every single stem is covered in sharp prickle pins. It hurts to gather them. When suddenly the vines all part and make a door for you. Of course you want to step inside, but is that smart to do? How do you dare to enter this castle of a home, and yet how can you bear to leave where magic seems to roam? What next, Rosie? Are you really so afraid of magic? To pass the thorns and enter the castle, turn to page 42. To back away, turn to page 64. Ah, yes, I knew she'd go to page 42. You wander up a winding stair, you scamper past a throne, until you find a tiny room where, sleeping like a stone, is a gentle maiden waits for you. Her eyes are sweetly shut. Her lips are waiting for a kiss, and so you bend and... What? Now what, Rosie? Are you really going to kiss some strange sleeping woman in a frozen castle covered with roses? Seriously. Yeah, life is an adventure. Turn to page 48. No, ooh, of course not. Kissing's for teenagers. Turn to page 36. Oh my gosh, you did it. You kissed the Princess Fair, who softly stirs and yawns at you through endless yards of hair. But then her big eyes widen and she cries, "Oh no, the Queen!" And sure enough, a woman waits behind you. She looks mean. "You know you should be napping," the evil Queen exclaims. She conjures up a potion, unstoppers it, and aims. What next, Rosie? Are you really going to take on that evil Queen? To run that Queen and try to grab her potion? Turn to page 40. To duck and dodge while you think up a plan? Turn to page 71. The moment that you charge the Queen, she gives a wicked smile and hurls her potion at your feet. Strange smoke pours from the vial. You feel a cloud surround you, an awful evil breeze. A force descends upon your limbs, and all your muscles freeze. The room now smells like roses, but something darker too, like stormy nights and lost goodbyes, as sleep envelops you. You may have choices someday and further paths to tread, but they're not in this story. You sleep as if you're dead. The end. For now. Oh, bummer, that's not a very good ending. Should we try it one more time? Your mama shakes you out of bed. She says, my darling dear, you need to run to grandma's, quick. She's feeling ill, I fear. Now take this cake to cheer her up and have a lovely day. But mind the path, for danger tends to lurk along the way. So up you jump, you give a nod, and through the room you tear. But wait, you'll need to grab your coat. It's rather cold out there. What now, Rosie? Which coat will you take? To slip on your coziest faux fur coat, turn to page 20. To grab your favorite red cape, turn to page 6. I think I'm going to try the faux fur coat this time. Inside your coat, as warm as toast, you skip through every glade. You'll soon be at your grandma's house and sipping lemonade. But when you get to down the path, you find you're somewhere new. A house you never seen before. It's brick, the door bright blue. You know your gran is waiting. She's sick and stuck abed. But would it hurt to quickly knock on this fine door instead? Now what, Rosie? Are you going to knock on this completely unfamiliar door? You've wasted plenty of time already, and you know it. So to hurry on to Grandma's house, turn to page 44. And to stop for just a minute and meet your neighbors, turn to page 12. She decided to keep going. Your grandma's waiting for her cake. You will not let her down. But as you near her cottage, a shadow hits the ground. A wolf has found you. Given a grin, my furry friend, let's flee. I bet you're headed where I am, the deep woods jamboree. We're sure to find delicious treats and wolfish games galore. Why don't you wander off the path? Such fun we have in store. What next, Rosie? That sounds like fun. Are you going to go with them? To head along with your new furry friend, turn to page 47. To avoid the wolfish invitation and head on to Grandma's, turn to page 28. You silly girl, you foolish thing, you'll never get home now. It's time to end your story. Go on and take a bow. When wolves invite you over for dinner or a treat, they only mean to munch you up and nibble on your feet. The end. That is a very fun book. Make sure you check this book out. You can read your own fairy tale adventure and choose your own path.